Welcome to Roguecast, the official podcast of Rogues Gallery. We'll talk comics for the week, as well as whatever news is on our pop cultural radar. I'm Randy.
I'm Nick.
This is Dave.
And now, on with the show.
All right, start up the score, Nick, the big sweeping music that we prepared.
Oh, yeah, I lied. I didn't practice that.
Oh, okay.
Or,
Dave,
or do that.
Well, Dave, do you want to do the dance number?
Okay, I'm doing the dance number.
Oh, good. Oh, that's really good. Yeah, I like that.
This is...
He's breaking out the tap dance.
Now, this is something I only do for our 5,000th episode, which I believe this is.
500th.
500th, but ballpark.
No, I like him. At 5,000, that works too.
Listen, let's just... We can build the narrative.
Sure, why not? Lying is a thing now.
But look, some of y'all have been with us for a long time, so thank you.
Yep.
And
we don't know why.
I think in traditional comic numbering, if you include our other aspects of comic
right, this is probably
like
this is
other
issue
things,
5,000.
This is issue 5,000.
We're using Marvel numbering.
Yeah, Marvel numbering system.
Yeah.
All the way.
But like I feel like we've got a store of knowledge. There's a reason for people to listen to us.
It's true.
And I'm witty. See, look at that. Atlanta.
Insert cricket noises.
Nick, it's adorable. You think I have any skill to do anything like that?
You have skills.
I couldn't even change the music for this episode.
We'll need to pull up a YouTube video of crickets, play the YouTube video in real time.
And y'all be really quiet so we can only hear the crickets.
We'll hear the actual crickets while we're trying to find the YouTube crickets.
Yes,
okay, well, no, we don't even need the YouTube. There's crickets around the store. We can just capture them.
That is true. There are too many crickets around the store.
There's the opening line of Bug Wars this week. I'm gonna...
Yes, oh, please.
We're gonna begin with some profanity.
Yes.
Jason Aaron's heavy metalish kind of Bug Wars in the backyard.
Yep.
As its first line, holy fucking cricket shit. We decided we're going to try and incorporate that more into our narrative.
I like this plan.
So yes, this 500th episode is uncensored.
It is not musical.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like to listen with their children around the fireplace.
Oh God, I hope not.
And so, this one, your child is about to grow up.
Yeah.
This
Huddled
is,
around a fireplace,
they will emerge from this a man or lady. and versed in all manner of swears. I don't know. I don't have anything else.
All right.
Send them to sailor cursing school.
Is that one of the weird Sailor Moons?
Sailor Cursing School? Yeah. It's Venus, Sailor Moon, Sailor
Mercury,
Cursing
Sailor Cursing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, want to remind people we have our Rogues Gallery Pride pins.
Yep.
They say Rogue Gallery Comics and Gays.
Yep.
They have a little rainbow sheen on the back. They are $6. And
they came out looking really good.
$1 from each one goes to Out Youth, Austin Out Youth.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we've already had a lot of people picking them up and people liking them, and I'm glad people dig it so much.
Yeah,
but they need to pick up more.
Need to pick up more.
True. We don't. We want to sell it before Pride so we can get more.
Somebody they picked it up and they immediately pinned it on their jacket with all their other cool patches and stuff.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
We got a decent amount of games this week. We got a new wave of Pathfinder and Nolzur's minis.
Yes.
I know that there was a classic Beholder in there.
Yeah, so this is like the Beholder from the original Monster Manual.
Yep.
And he's a big mother.
Is he
He's essentially their largest
First of all, yes,
scale.
he has that kind of maniac look of them. Larger scale, Nick?
Well, I mean, it's the large scale.
Yes.
You know how there's small, medium, and large.
The other
These
ones
are the
are medium.
large.
Yeah, I don't know that, I particularly had a sense from the art back in the day how big they were supposed to be. But if this were to scale to the miniatures, he'd be, as big as a car, right?
Yep.
He's huge.
Bigger than that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people in D&D ride Beholders around.
Well, I think usually they're drawn a little smaller than that. Maybe half that size.
I'm used to seeing them pretty big.
I don't know. Not that big. That is way bigger than the other miniature.
As big as a Volkswagen.
But the other miniature we had was smaller.
Yeah, the other miniature is smaller.
Yeah, all right.
But
It's half a Volkswagen.
The pre-painted minis are bigger.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
They are.
Well, I need to get consistent, wizards.
No, they start as baby Beholders. They grow up to big Beholders.
Are you saying that there can't be any diversity amongst Beholder
There is one size. They have stringent, small, medium, large, gargantuan, whatever. They have D&D is about hard numbers.
But Beholders can be different sizes.
Like a fat beholder?
Like a fat beholder.
Isn't Xanathar a fat beholder?
But among the other ones, because there was somebody who picked up one of each of the new ones yesterday. What is it, 18 or so of them, I think.
There's more than that, I felt.
Okay.
But it was a full wave.
And so I got to like kind of see them all, and they do look very cool, even though this is, I think, the last hurrah of the packaging.
Hopefully the new packaging's not great.
The new packaging kind of sucked, and they've said they're going to go back to the old packaging. So
but the minis are still good. It's just
minis are still good, and again, spectacular old school beholder.
Yep,
just go ahead and pick it up.
Yep.
You'll want this tubby beholder.
My favorite of them all, though, is the turtle wild shape.
Yes.
You basically you get a turtle who is a wizard shaman, and he's a druid. He turns into a giant lizard.
Yeah,
it's very
he has
cool.
a giant lizard alt form,
and I think that is one of the coolest
alt wild form shape of a turtle druid.
Yes.
Yep.
So
that's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
And his staff comes with a magic effect that you can add to it. It's really cool.
Oh, nice.
You know, somebody needs to have a quartet so that you can have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I think that would be awesome.
D&D. All monks.
Yes.
With varying weapon specialties.
No, they have to be monk druid hybrids.
And do they have rat men in
Pathfinder has ratlings. I don't know if
Yeah,
D&D
I'm not
does.
sure if they do. I remember when they had that book that had like a lot of them.
They just have a giant rat as their mentor.
That's right.
Well,
Master
nowadays,
Splinter, what should we do next? Scream!
nowadays, Donatello just has a dead rat on his shoulder. It's
True.
fine.
That's true. That's
But
true.
it's also the spirit of Splinter.
Could adapt that.
That's true.
So
Story is unfolding.
it is.
People
All right.
who haven't read the latest Ninja Turtles are like, I'm sorry, what now?
Read it. It's very good.
It's very good.
It's quite good.
We got the Tiny Epic Game of Thrones. The Tiny Epic is a series of games that come in a little small box. Usually a billion little miniatures and meeples.
They're tiny, but in other ways, they're also epic.
In fact, that is their names.
That's the branding.
Yeah. I don't know. The gameplay is different in every one of these. Tiny Epic Game of Thrones is...
I always forget on that. I wasn't sure if it was one of those, like if you know one of them, you'll kind of know the others.
No, they're all different.
Okay, well that's also cool.
It's a lot. It's a look
cool
at it.
in a different way.
It's got a little map. It's got a bunch of meeples. It's got miniatures. It looks like it's got dice.
It's a fantasy flight of small games.
Maybe you play different houses. It looks like there's I see House Lannister.
I'm assuming you're trying to come together to defeat the White Walkers.
Maybe so.
Sorry, is it cooperative?
No, it is not.
Okay, so maybe
you're probably vying for the
You are all vying to become the
playing some sort of game of thrones.
Yes,
I think it's
like a Game of Thrones.
Yeah. They need to have a little singing game where you sing about fire and ice. just a thought.
We got an expansion for Risk 2210. This is back in print, and then Frontline, a new expansion with 4 new factions. This game has been out of print for a while. It just came back.
Yeah.
And this is the first expansion they've ever done.
That is wild. Risk 2210 goes back to like the early 2000s originally, but always did well.
We got D&D Gamelings. These are little meeples for D&D.
Yeah, those are cool. I was looking at those earlier.
I think there's a standalone Red Dragon, and there's a set that has like a bunch of monsters, right?
It is an owlbear, a beholder, a displacer beast, a gelatinous cube, a intellect devourer, and a mimic.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, they have art on the site. It's not like a meeple, like pure abstraction where it's just the shape of it.
Yeah.
It has nice artwork on it, but yes, it sort of functions like a meeple.
And then we've got a new Transformers RPG book, Techno-Organic Secrets.
Yep.
New Power Rangers RPG, Through the Shattered Grid, which I think that's their multiverse thing.
Yeah, it was their big multiverse story that they did
What's
a few
the
years back.
techno-organic Transformers thing?
So you can play Circuit Breaker, I guess.
That's literally the only Transformers thing I know that's techno-organic. Now, I'm sure over the decades of existence of Transformers, there's been some other ones.
So let's see. I'm going to look up Renegade Studios.
The cover has, it looks like Rhinox holding something, being attacked by Megatron.
So it's Beast Wars.
That makes sense. It's more of the Beastie
You can create
stuff.
Dinobots or Maximals.
Yep. That's pretty cool.
Yep. New perks, new weapons, Beast Wars style campaign. Yeah, it's Beast Wars.
Okay. Well, I'll give that a flip too.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. And then we've got a game, Unstoppable, which is a solo or duo game that is done by John DeClaire, who did Space Base, among other things.
Yep.
It is a card crafting game where you're like building a sci-fi hero to defeat these evil things. I'm really curious about this one. It looks really interesting. We have this little games that are either 2-player or solo.
That's neat.
And then we got HeroClix Warriors of Wakanda, which has like a little box set of, I forget who all is in there. Killmonger, Black Panther, maybe.
Does it have like Shuri and
I think
stuff
so.
like that?
It's got like 6 characters in it.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're starting to do these sort of sets where you can get a set of characters.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. I feel like there's this little surge of energy for HeroClix, and I'm not just talking because of the new set. I feel like I've had a few people who are like, "Oh, I want to start getting into this," and or asking what it's all about. And that is pretty wild because, as we've occasionally mentioned before, that was a game that was just getting rolling when we started in like 2002.
Yeah.
You know, I think for other stores, it's kind of, it's had fallen out of favor and it's slowed down for us, but it's always maintained its presence and a following. It is the most persistent, slightly off the beaten path game we carry.
Yeah.
Good for you, HeroClix.
All right, let's talk about comics. It's a big week.
It is a big week.
Maybe the biggest week we've seen in a while.
Yeah, we weren't sure if it was going to fit all on the wall. We made it work, but if you take a comic out, the wall will fall apart.
It's true. No, no. You can take comics. Please take comics.
It's just going to detonate. Comics will explode in your face.
It was also a big week for graphic novels.
It was. There's a lot of graphic novels. So let's start with the big one. It's Absolute Flash #1.
Yes.
It's the expansion of the Absolute line, the first of 3 new books.
Yep. Continuing to use somewhat big name writers on there. Jeff Lemire, who has done is primarily known for his independent stuff, but that independent stuff has included superhero stories.
But he's worked with DC.
But he's worked with DC
52,
before.
He did Animal Man and Swamp Thing, I think.
Yep.
One of their, I thought Snyder did one of those, or no, maybe not.
Lemire eventually did both. I don't think he started on both.
Yeah, and those were like some of the more acclaimed ones from that whole launch.
And this has art by Nick Robles.
Which is really nice.
It is.
Like, the art is great in this.
So this, all of these kind of are pretty big rebuilds. This one focuses on a 15-year-old Wally West who is a not particularly happy military brat.
Yep. His father is a scientist that...
His father's the military guy.
Oh, right.
His father is the head of this secret scientific
He does
facility.
meet a scientist named Barry Allen who's overseeing a project on the base.
Yep.
But, this has a little bit of that small, not small town angst, but in its way, yes, because it's like a military base is like a small town.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this kid has been moved around all his life. You might say he's constantly been on the run.
What?
But he's an unhappy kid who has a dad who's kind of... what do you call it? He's neglectful.
Yeah.
Is a neglectful
but
dad.
also kind of a jerk.
He's kind of a jerk. And, but this Barry Allen dude seems like he sees something in him. He's like, hey, you're a pretty smart kid. Do you want to check out this project, which is top secret that I'm working on? And in comics, the answer is always... yes.
Yeah. Anyway, you might guess, things happen.
Yep.
And suddenly Wally has super speed.
Yes.
Yeah, and this one is, like all of the Absolute books, they're definitely darker in tone than what we've seen, but that is kind of the nature of the dark side.
Not like so dark, like Flash doesn't run through a bunch of school kids or anything.
No, we're not Jeff Johns territory.
No.
But it is kind of darker tinged. It is a more kind of, not realistic, but it's
getting a little bit more into the this is a character-centric first issue.
Yeah.
But
and because Wally is a kid who's struggling right now,
who basically lives alone.
And Lemire is pretty good at writing that kind of struggle and making you feel it. It has, that's, the tone is more the darkness. It's not like some villain comes around and like slaughters people.
No, but like, it's just a little bit darker tinged than your traditional DC comic.
Yeah, and speaking of villains, and I'm not going to say too much about this, but there are some Flash villains that appear in an unusual way in this.
And the structure of the book is interesting as well, because it kind of flip-flops through time.
Yep, there's a little bit of weirdness in there.
But I think it was handled pretty well. I thought the art was exceptionally easy to read and beautiful. I like the character designs.
I think people who are digging the other Ultimate Absolute books will like this one.
Yes.
This is a small thing, and this is Dave being predictive. I noticed that in Barry's lab down below, where they're working on the sci-fi project or whatever it is that they're thinking.
They got monkeys.
I noticed the monkeys,
Yep.
and I'm like, this is how you get Gorilla City, I think, or Grodd, or
There's
something
monkeys
like that.
and there's something else in there too that we.
There was something weird, but I did not know what that was.
If you've watched certain animations, you'll know what that is.
Yeah, I think I knew what that was.
Oh, is that okay? Then maybe I do know what that is.
But
we're being so circumspect. But yeah, it's another one to try out, and I think the people enjoying the Absolute line might dig this.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they will.
For another take on the Speedster, we've got DC and Sonic the Hedgehog.
This is a pretty...
This is so much more fun than I thought it was. Like, I know about Sonic is from watching the 3 movies. That's pretty much it.
You know more than I do. I just know that Sonic likes golden rings.
But, so Sonic and his buddies team up with the Justice League, and there's some pretty good, like, Shadow teams up with Batman, Knuckles teams up with Superman.
When I was making the sign, it said that Darkseid, like, invades Sonic's world.
Yes, Darkseid invades.
Yep.
Darkseid
At the very
invades their
beginning,
world.
he invades them, searching for, like, powerful crystal gems.
Yep.
Are crystal gems a thing in Sonic World?
Maybe so.
Does he use his Omega beams and just start incinerating little hedgehogs?
He does not.
But I think this book all comes down to the kind of interplay between the characters. Because I specifically like the Superman and Knuckles.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah, Superman and Knuckles work
because apparently
well.
Knuckles is like the last of like his race.
He's the last of his race.
So there are definitely correlations between all these characters.
There's only one echidna.
The writer of this, Ian Flynn, has written a ton of Sonic comics.
Okay.
And clearly, like, gets it, and he does a really good job of mixing them with the DC stuff.
That's pretty cool, and I applaud DC for doing a little bit something off the beaten path like this.
Yeah.
I remember they did something else that none of us had a big connection to, which is none of us are big Power Rangers people. Nick, were you?
I watched it off and on.
All right, Nick's a big Power Rangers fan. Randy and I weren't. But
I was
when
a big Green Ranger fan.
When Tom Taylor did man, that's basic. Everybody likes the Green Ranger.
It's true. I was a basic
He was a
Power
bad guy
Rangers
turned.
bitch.
He was a bad guy turned good, right?
Yeah.
Tom Taylor did the Justice League Power Rangers crossover
it was awesome.
like 5-6 years ago, whatever it was, and it was really good. And I guess there's always been some decent crossovers, but there is also sometimes they're just meh. And it's good. It's cool that they're actually like getting people that I think really kind of want to do something with it.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Indies had some strong contenders this week as well.
Sure.
Oni has a book called Out of Alcatraz. It's a crime book written by Christopher Cantwell with really nice art by Tyler Crook.
Yeah, Tyler Crook, who did what was that book with Cullen Bunn?
Harrow County.
Harrow County. It was
Oh, he's the artist who did Harrow County?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I guess I should flip through this later because that was amazing. That was kind of a painted looking.
Yeah, this has that too.
That's his style.
This takes place in 1962.
Nobody else can paint a skin husk like he can.
I don't think this is based on a real story or anything, but basically it's about 3 prisoners who escape Alcatraz, the famously unescapable prison. Mm-hmm. They are believed to be dead, except they're not. And 2 of them are out there, like basically trying to work up a new heist. But maybe the authorities know they're not dead, but they're just saying they're dead. And so it's basically like these guys who they got out of prison and now they have to do a job for the people to help them get out. It's really good.
Is my brain misremembering? Is Christopher Cantwell the guy who wrote the *Halt and Catch Fire* TV series?
He did write *Halt and Catch Fire*.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I'm a big crime fan, and I thought this was a really good issue with fantastic artwork. Yeah. There's L.A. Strong, which is a benefit book for the victims of the L.A. fires. And this is mostly a lot of sort of one-page art and writing thing, reflections from different writers and artists. There's some sort of big names in here, and a lot of really good art. And it's sort of stories about, resilience, and everyone's talking about like the firefighters and that kind of stuff. There's also some sort of darker reflections on things that happened. It's a really good little feature, and money goes to a good cause.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
And then we have the return of Mouse Guard, which has been out of print for a long, long time.
Yeah, and still the classic volumes still kind of are, right?
Yeah, they are.
But do we know there is a new printing coming? Isn't there?
We have no idea.
I thought there was something announced.
They have not announced anything that I've seen.
But each miniseries traditionally in Mouse Guard kind of stands on its own, and this one is a callback to sort of one of their big heroes. Do they actually literally call him the Black Axe?
So this is Bardrick, the first wielder of the Black Axe.
Yes.
Okay, so it's like their
forging of it.
Their Excalibur kind of.
Essentially.
Yeah. For those who don't know, because it has been like 15 years,
Yes.
this is a fantasy comic featuring mice.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
Morphized.
might compare to like Redwall, the book series,
yeah.
but if you've seen Secret of Nim or anything like that.
It's a little darker and more real. Like they definitely they use snakes
serious,
as monsters. Yeah. Snakes are like their dragons.
Right. And it has always like it doesn't have like a Disney vibe with its mice. Their mice are like serious medieval warriors. It's almost more Lord of the Ringsy in that sense.
It reminds me of like not supernatural wise, but like Beasts of Burden. That kind of level.
Oh yeah.
As I look in the back here, it seems to indicate that all of these books are in print, which is not the experience we've had. So I guess we'll have to try and order them. They are switching distributors from Diamond to Penguin, so that might be causing some issue. But it does seem like they think all these things are in print.
Well, I mean, if they are, we should get them because they are really good stories. David Peterson is an amazing artist. He is employing a super talented artist in the way of Gabriel Rodriguez.
Yeah, the art in this is great.
The guy who did the super popular book Lock and Key. With Joe Hill. Here he draws and then David Peterson does colors, so it definitely kind of gives it that tone.
It maintains the look of the series, which the visuals on the series have always been a big part of it.
Right.
But I thought this opening story was very engaging. You don't really need to have read anything else. You can kind of just jump into this.
I feel like many a nerdy kid goes through some phase when they like mice that stab stuff. And
so specific.
When is that not cool?
But actually, like it could be like also like those warrior cats books, something where they want the animals that are the cool fighting animals.
Yeah.
And this would be an awesome comic to get a kid who was into.
If your kid is in the Fightin Animals phase,
if they're in the Fightin Animals phase, you know it. Are they playing Mice and Mystics? Are they watching Dad's VHS copy of Secret of Nim? It always lives on in every generation.
Yeah.
You need a mouse with a sword.
Yeah.
Or an axe.
Boom also produced a book called The Last Boy. This is by Dan Panosian with art by Alessio Avallone. Again, really beautiful art. This is a story of Peter Pan, but it's also a story of like the Wendy who is reading the Peter Pan story to her kids, I think, or maybe to school kids in 1920. And is writing a book about Peter Pan and her experience or something like that. So, of a piece with, I think Panosian has done the Alice and Out of Wonderland that is like recasts her as like on a drug trip.
Alice Ever
After, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, for those who are enjoying that, this is a similar vein. Or if you're a big Peter Pan fan.
Yeah.
We got a second printing of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man #1. Which is the tie-in to the cartoon that we all really liked.
And it's not a recreation. It is actually a tie-in book that reveals some stuff that isn't revealed in the show.
Mm-hmm. It actually features some villains who aren't in the show. It's got some great stuff with Peter and Nico. If you're looking for more, and you should be, because it was a great cartoon.
Yes.
Yep. There's now, I believe we have 1 and 2. And I think we may be out of 3.
Yep. Pleased to see how well that series turned out, and that I just hope people find it.
Yeah. We've got some big second issues this week. One World Under Doom, which is the crossover by Ryan North, where Doom has taken over the world. I'm actually really enjoying this series. I think it's really good.
What's the kind of hook of the second issue?
I don't want to say anything.
You can't say anything.
You
can't just say this is the one where the heroes rally, or Doom releases a bunch of Doom bots that cause havoc.
The cover hints at what happens, and it's a kind of a big thing.
What is it?
I'm not saying.
It's right there on the cover, though.
I'm not saying.
Okay.
Randy's so secretive.
I
think he's working for Doom. I think you're a Doom bot.
Eddie Brock Carnage #2. As shocked as I am that All New Venom is like in my top 10 books every month, I'm even more shocked that Eddie Brock Carnage is in there. I don't like Venom, but I've read good Venom.
Yeah.
I hate Carnage as a character. I hate him.
Charles Soule is making the character interesting.
Yeah,
I will say that.
Yeah,
and part of the way he's doing that is because Eddie Brock is really the lead character.
Yeah.
And they've done interesting stuff with him over the years. And by the way, both this and the Venom comic, All New Venom, are both good. And part of it's because they put good writers on it.
Yes.
It's Al Ewing and Charles Soule. These are good writers.
Yep.
We've come up with good and interesting stories.
Yeah, and just as a reminder, the hook on this is that while both Carnage, the symbiote, and Eddie Brock were dying, to save each other, they merged and kept each other alive. And Carnage basically wants Eddie to kill.
Yep.
And Eddie is like, I'm not going to do that for you, but he knows that Carnage could kill him at a moment's notice and just go to a much worse host.
So they made a bargain.
They did an interesting...
So they have a Faustian bargain.
In this one, they do them a little more specific. They've got like a FBI crew that's looking into this, the Carnage and all that.
Yep.
And that's one thing. They're tracking them down. But also, Eddie specifies a little bit more what he's doing. He is basically...
kind of hunting
serial killers.
Yeah.
But he knows that if he fails, if a serial killer kills him, Carnage will immediately jump to that serial killer.
Right, so he's like, I got to be good at what I do.
Yeah.
And this puts him in these really interesting, stressful situations. Yeah. And in this, he does a kind of, I don't know, I almost feel like it's a almost Jack Reacher-ish kind of thing.
Yeah.
A little bit.
He lets himself get taken in by the cops because he's trying to kind of pull a move.
But
he's got something in mind.
But I like that he didn't forget that Eddie Brock was a journalist.
Yeah,
an investigative journalist. That was a big thing for him.
He's not just some lunkhead.
Yep.
He's also not the brightest guy in the
God,
movie.
no.
But
there are some mistakes made.
but he's doing solid. There's an interesting ongoing mystery that has to do with the crazy situation in the plane in the first issue, which was a great scene.
Yep.
Which
this art is insanely good.
Yeah. Jesus says.
We also get some cool Marvel
the guest star.
The guest star character at best. But well used.
Yeah. It's really good. Shocked how good it is.
Yep.
TVA number 4. I think I'm the only one reading the Time Variance Authority book, right?
You are.
Yes.
So this is fully in continuity with the MCU, which I find interesting because they're bringing it in. They're bringing the MCU because it's all alternate universe stuff,
right?
But it has an alternate world. Gambit, Captain Carter,
Spider-Gwen,
our Spider-Gwen, the main Spider-Gwen, are working together along with some of the TVA people. There's a conspiracy going on. In this issue, they go to the Universe 616, New Orleans. They're looking for someone who stabbed one of the main characters and what's going on. And Gwen has this whole thing where she's trying to figure out if there's someone actually working with them secretly. And the big reveal at the end as to who it is and what's going on, I thought was really, really good. I'm greatly enjoying. I've always thought that the one downside of the MCU is that because they're only movies and TV shows, there's a lot of threads that just get kind of left.
Yeah.
And so being able to explore those in the books in a way that doesn't invalidate them, where it's sort of where multiverse continuity stuff really works for me. There's some interesting stuff that ties into several of the Marvel movies in this.
I can see a market for that.
Yeah,
It's
also just really good on its own. I like these characters, I like this team. I like the idea of a TVA strike team essentially.
Who's writing this one?
It is. Last name's Blair. What is the?
Interesting.
I don't know if I know the writer. Catherine Blair.
I think that's the person who was in The Thing.
Yes.
John Carpenter's The Thing. Is I guess writing that.
And the art is by Perry
It's the only
Paris,
Blair
so
that's ever existed.
It's really good. No, Dave. There's also Blair from Facts of Life.
Oh,
unless
I stand corrected.
Is that the same character?
Oh, and Alison Blair the Dazzler.
The Dazzler.
But that might have just been the character from Facts of Life.
I think they all are. It's all the same people. one Blair to rule them all. We also got the conclusion of the heist story in Avengers.
Yep.
Which I've been a little down on. I love heist, but I thought this was not the best story. But this does have a big. You know how a heist trope is the revelation that a thing that went wrong was in fact the plan all along.
Yeah.
That kind of happens in here in an interesting way.
It's the Ocean's tradition.
Yeah.
Yep. There's some kind of dark stuff that happens in it. I'm not quite sure if it balances out with the sort of lighter heist traditions.
Yeah.
But there's also a sweet moment in it too.
Yeah, there is.
Well,
McKay wrote Black Cat for a long time, and clearly he wanted to get back to writing that character a little bit.
Yep. This was a nice punctuation mark, and it's all nicely drawn too.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm not liking his Avengers as much as I like his X-Men, but I am enjoying it. Speaking of X-Men, there are 2 more parts of X-Manhunt. Part 6 of 7 is an X-Force, which does some interesting stuff with Sage, a character I didn't know that much about. When I first read her, she was Tessa. She didn't really have much power. She was like a living computer.
She's
Now she's super powerful.
Yeah.
And
what is she still doing?
She is working with Charles
sagey
Xavier on
things?
something.
Okay.
And he has, as revealed, a Krakoa egg, and with this issue, we find out who's in it and what he was doing.
And regular eggs are expensive. Krakoa eggs?
Krakoa eggs
about
are
it.
really
Forget
expensive
about
right
it.
now, yeah. And then there's what they call an X-Men Hunt Collateral Damage Exceptional X-Men, which I don't know what that means. It's just apparently this is how the team in Chicago crosses over with the X-Men Hunt story,
Okay.
which concludes, I believe, next week with X-Men Hunt Omega.
Okay, cool.
Pretty quick crossover.
Yeah.
New G.I. Joe, number 5. I think we all enjoyed this.
Yep.
Yes. It follows...
The Joes are captured.
The Joes have been captured, and Duke gets his ass beat, and then he's got a crazy gambit, and then can't he pull a card out of his sleeve, and what's Cobra Commander up to in all of this?
Cobra Commander's evil.
He's pretty evil in this. And Destro's pretty determined, by the way.
Yeah.
There's a point when some people are escaping, and he's like, "No, you're not."
There's been a Destro Baroness moment in this.
There is. They are not yet friends.
No, they're
in
not.
In fact, they're quite on the opposite sides.
It's true.
And no, it's even worse because Destro's current girlfriend is there. I forget her code name, but
Chameleon.
she's Chameleon. Yeah. But I don't know. I maybe Baroness in that moment is like, "There's something about this crazy guy."
I have a fetish for metalheads.
Maybe so.
Saga 72 concludes the latest story arc of Saga with a really big political turning point.
Oh, it's actually the wrap of that current arc.
Yep.
Okay.
And then they're taking a hiatus, not as long as their previous hiatus.
Their previous hiatus was 2 years.
Yes, at least.
So hopefully not.
Yeah. But,
Luckily,
Saga...
there's nothing going on in the world right now that might cause any chaos to this.
Detective Comics is another issue of Tom Taylor's Detective Comics with really beautiful art by Mikhail Janin. I think he's got a good handle on these guys. I wasn't sure about this at first. I mostly was just missing him writing Nightwing. But he has an interesting take on sort of Batman and Leslie Tompkins, the Penguin, their Commissioner of Police, who is Vandal Savage.
That part's still weirding me out, and I don't quite get it.
When did that happen?
I don't know.
Did it? I think it. You know what? I think it came out of some of the weirdness that was at the end of that Batman Catwoman war.
Oh, okay.
I think it happened in that, because there was a meteor that was going to crash in Gotham, and it had
Vandal Savage was involved in all that.
It had
that's
the
right.
thing that gave him his immortality a million years ago, or whenever it was in caveman times.
I just feel like people should know who Vandal Savage is and maybe not vote for him.
But he
maybe
probably
Nick, I don't know if you know what's been going on in the world, but
No,
people,
as I was
people
saying,
would 100% elect Vandal Savage.
Also, he probably combed his hair and looked like a little bit more better groomed.
Also, he might bring down the price of eggs. Krakoa eggs.
Right, that's right.
Oh man.
Yeah, anyway, I really like this book. He's doing interesting stuff in Detective the same way he did with Nightwing. I liked his Nightwing better than his Batman. I think Batman's a harder character to write. But it's fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm curious to see where the story goes. New Gods number 4, which I know we're all on board.
Yeah.
Rom V's reinvention of the New Gods.
It was another really good issue.
It's a great issue. They do some cool stuff with Highfather.
It shows the founding of the city of the main city in New Genesis, and this something that I'd never seen before.
Yep.
Kind of like when it's clear that a bunch of wars have just wrapped up in sort of mythic times for the New Gods, and that Highfather is now kind of in build mode, and there's a bunch of stuff there. There's a big crazy battle with this I think this is an original character, right? The Archer.
I think so. I did not recognize her from anything.
Yeah, I
else.
think she's new.
It's like she's killing off whole phalanxes of invading soldiers.
But she looks like the engineer. Or
She does,
something.
yeah. Some very techno-organic looking stuff.
You know, in what do you call it, 300, and this is taken from an actual historical, the famous Spartan Battle of Thermopylae.
Yep.
When they're, supposedly the what do you call it, the Persian emperor was like, we will blot out the sun, with our arrows, and they're like, we'll fight in the shade. Well, it's like she single-handedly does that, with one launch of her bow, rains down that many arrows. It's pretty cool.
They're light arrows. They're
Yep,
cool.
yep. And then there's still the stuff on Earth, which with Barda and Scott and now Oberon.
I feel like Barda is one of my favorite New Gods characters. Every time I ever see her, she's one of my favorites. And Ramvi writes her really well here.
Yeah, the fact that she's kind of got... Well, she's got Earth chick energy, I think, and and isn't too much these and thous and kind of stuff. She's kind of like acclimated to Earth, but she has like a fun attitude.
Yeah. She also has no fucks to give.
She has no fucks to give.
She will just beat you to death.
and like something else comes to a head.
Yeah.
Suddenly, like
some big stuff.
Kind of forgot about it, but like, there was a big thing with Orion in the first issue, and like it's. The I don't know, the chickens have come home to roost.
And by the end of this, there's some big things with Highfather.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, another really good issue.
Ramvi has written probably the best version of New Gods that we've seen in quite some time.
I can easily say that, yes.
Yeah, for sure. It's really good.
Do we still have all the issues?
I don't think we do. I believe issue 1 is gone again. Or maybe
if you haven't been on board, you might want to get the trade.
Yep.
Or request it in advance. We'll hold you a copy. Yep.
Batman and Robin Year 1 reaches its halfway point with number 6. I gotta say, this one has slowly won me over. I've always liked the art by Chris Samney. I think as it goes on, I'm liking the story more and more.
Right
on. So worth a read. The Deviant, the Christmas horror that started a year ago Christmas, like 2023.
Yep. This is James Tinian's Christmas horror comic that was kind of he was like a comic artist, right? Or cartoonist?
Yes.
Who was interviewing a serial killer.
To do a graphic novel.
To do a graphic novel, bio, kind of true crime graphic novel.
Yep.
And himself, of course, ends up embroiled in it because the killings seem to start again. He's been tied to some things. And throughout, it's had like so many weird twists and turns. It's been creepy and cool throughout. And I think, Nick, I know you're not caught up on it.
No, I'm basically just going to read the trades.
But I think Brandon and I were pretty happy with the conclusion.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
And we would generally recommend people pick this up as it hits collection.
Which I think the first collection is already out.
It is.
Yeah.
I feel like this... we had some question about whether a certain plot point has been resolved that I need to reread it to see.
Yeah.
I honestly
think it does a lot of what I kind of want in a finale, which is to say there are some very tense scenes in this.
Yep.
There are some big reveals in this. There is a kind of a nice epilogue to it where you get to see a fair amount of good characterization and dialogue. So some of the stuff that Tinian's really good at. Mm-hmm. So I feel like it was a good. Notable, finale to it. It felt like almost like a double-sized issue, but
it's
if it was, it's only $3.99, so it's normal price.
Well, there's something to be said about Tinian reading issue to issue. Sometimes I can get lost in his plots,
right?
But
sometimes I can get lost in his eyes.
It's true. But when you read it as a trade, it always reads so well. I've read most of his stuff in that format, and it always is amazing.
Yeah. You were just doing Nice House on the Lake and stuff.
Nice
like
House
that
on the
recently.
Lake. Something is killing the children. I think all of it reads better in chunks.
Something is killing the Nice House on the Deviant.
It's true.
That's all my single issue. We only want to talk about Bug Wars.
Oh yeah, we need to mention the hardcore second issue of Bug Wars,
Holy Effing Cricket
Shit. The home of Holy Fucking Cricket Shit. In which a kid who's I say kid, teenager, who's kind of had a rough home life and has a brother that he has an antagonistic relationship with, almost frenemies, but more enemies than frenemies. But he's got like a little bug obsession, and he at the end of the first issue ended up shrunk down to himself the size of a bug, only to find that there's these the bugs, all the bugs of the backyard are like a fantasy kingdom.
Yeah,
and it's not just like any fantasy kingdom; it's like a brutal Conan,
John Carter of Mars,
slavers, gladiators, constant warfare. Hence, Bug Wars.
This he gets taken into a gladiatorial arena with a kind of a character from each of the different
sort of tribes
of
there's
stuff.
Tribes of insects.
I thought they were all pretty cool.
They are, and there's all sorts of interesting. By the way, in the first issue, I don't know if it was because he had his human strength or whatever, but he just punched some dude's head off.
Well, he has this kind of gem or rock pushed into his body.
Yeah.
And it's not working all the time, but that is something that gives him abilities.
Right. He tried to do it again in this one, and he got his ass beat. Also, we find out, I think a scene that amused both of us, Nick, that they are burning, like the bugs are burning this giant effigy of his brother, and they're like, he is the one of the metal sphere. He is the one who destroys the homes. Because the brother mows the lawn.
Yes.
And shreds their home.
I think this is equal parts hilarious and just kind of entertaining.
Yeah, it's like over the top kind of edgelord fantasy, but that kind of knows it. It's not really edgelord.
No.
It's just kind of, but it plays in that world, that heavy metal.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a heavy metal kind of thing. But I will also say that Jason Aaron has done a ton of world building in the 2 issues that he's done.
He wants to take the cool and weird things about actual bugs and kind of imagine how that kind of would translate into, like, their civilization. And it's, like the spiders or, like, the web witches and stuff like this. Some of the same fun that we had reading, like, Dark Knights of Steel, the DC characters in a fantasy setting. Some of that same sort of world building is going on here, and there's actually some lore and stuff in the back of the book.
I was going to say, there is a ton of lore, kind of like 3 or 4 pages worth of just kind of explanations of the different...
it's pretty good.
The different races and stuff in here. It's a lot of fun. It also is very bloody and violent and cursing and a little lurid.
It is. But again, in a pretty entertaining way. I feel like... you probably know from our description if that might be for you, but check it out.
Exactly.
Anything else single issue? Oh, yeah, Absolute Batman.
Just that there was a new issue.
I forgot there's a new Absolute Batman as well.
This is the finale of the first story arc. Basically, Batman and his confrontation with Black Mask.
Okay, I saw also mention of like a big character that has not shown yet, but will show.
There's an epilogue,
and it's not the Joker. It's a different person. Although the Joker may have some involvement, but this was a different character that got mentioned.
Oh,
do you know what I'm talking about, Nick?
Oh no, I do.
Another character name dropped.
But there's the but there is setting up a 2-part story coming up. The next one is a Mr. Freeze story. Drawn by Marcos Martin, which I'm super excited for.
Oh, nice.
But I thought this was a good finale, and it twists and turns in ways. I like kind of their take on Martha Wayne and her relationship with Jim Gordon.
Yep.
It continues to
just to confirm, still alive, Martha Wayne, not a corpse.
Yep. And
Gordon's not that kind of freak.
I honestly think they're going to get in a relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, she's his deputy.
Gordon will bang anything that moves.
She's his deputy mayor, and it kind of definitely
if there's
feels
one
that
thing
way.
I learned from Batman Year One,
that's been his defining characteristics of Batman Year One.
And although you have to read between the lines, it was also in Batman '89.
It's true. It's true. That man was a love machine.
And then I have one more single issue to mention for a series that I'm sure people are reading. I should not be enjoying it as much as I am because it's dumb. But Deadpool and Wolverine is this miniseries that is just scratching an itch of hilarity and absurdity. Ben Percy is writing characters like Strife, Deadpool, Wolverine. There are crazy over-the-top things, but the jokes that Deadpool and Wolverine they're just hilarious. They're so silly and...
You're saying it is a good break from the chaos of the world is to enjoy the chaos of Deadpool and Wolverine together.
Yes, as they kill each other, essentially.
Well, I understand that they were recently in a motion picture, which some people enjoyed.
Was somewhat successful.
And was chaos and made me come out of the Deadpool woodwork or something.
Now you're a Deadpool fan like me.
Now I'm a hardcore Deadpool fan, and I'm always wearing a giant foam Deadpool hat.
Yeah, which is weird, Dave. You should stop that.
And I have the giant foam Deadpool hands for sports events.
Yes, and a giant foam Deadpool butt.
Yes, and that's just for me.
I thought that was a Nightwing butt. And was
no, that's officially licensed Deadpool
I repurposed it.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Little spray paint and it's Deadpool.
You can't make an artificial Nightwing butt. You have to be born with that.
I guess that's true.
Okay, anyway.
So this is what you tuned in for, 500 episodes of quality material.
And now our song tribute to butts in the Marvel and DC universes. Hit it, Nick. All right.
I can only think of 2 butts in the Marvel universe that are worth it.
Yeah?
I mean, Captain America.
Yeah,
obviously,
that's America's ass.
And, I mean, I would say Deadpool, maybe. Ryan Reynolds? I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
We'll see.
All right.
Well, we're not even going to enter Rogue into this. Come on.
We also, as mentioned, there were a ton of trades and hardcovers this week.
Yeah.
So I want to mention Art of Marvel Snap, which is the phone game that we all were obsessed with briefly. We've been talking about it on the podcast.
Randy continues to be
and I
addicted
continue to play it every day.
And I'll tell you this, the app game, Randy, I play the Star Realms app game all the time, but I've had glitches on my phone lately and with it, and I don't know if, maybe it's just my phone because you haven't had them.
Nope.
Or maybe it's the format that I'm playing in, but anyway, I'm like, well, I'm tired of messing with that. I tried all these things. Maybe it's time to go back and play Marvel Snap.
Yep.
So you might just see me back in the game.
Yep.
I mean, I don't play it anymore, but I have an affinity for the artwork that comes out of it.
Same. And I watched Randy do the big flip through yesterday, and it's cool.
It's a great book because they did alphabetical heroes and villains and the locations. They have the art from the game, which is all really good.
And like the main piece of art for each character is like the main portrait
center spread, and there's like 6 variants around each one. It's a very well laid out book.
It's a good format.
I've seen some of this art in the small, on the game, but seeing it like a larger format and seeing variants I haven't seen before. If you're at all a fan of that, or if you just like these characters, there's some really cool interpretations in here, including a lot by artist Dan Hipp, who you might know from Teen Titans Go. Yep,
and he does the cartoony but kind of textured look characters. Like that's kind of his vibe of his art, and his is super fun. I might have to get back to playing the game.
We also got the Marvel Multiverse RPG. We got their Spider-Verse expansion. This is their 4th book.
Yep.
Which a lot of cool Spider-Verse lore. I played the game. I ran the game for some of the people here, and to be honest, it was not quite what I wanted. It was a little rulesy in different ways, but I keep buying the rule books because the lore is so good.
Yeah, and if you wanted to do anything with the Spider-Verse, obviously this is going to be the place to go, and I assume that just looking at the characters on the cover, that it's got like stats for Spider-Ham and Spider-Man 2099 and Spider-Woman.
And details on a lot of these like histories and universes and that kind of thing.
Probably some really good springboards for stories that might bounce around there.
Yep.
And
it looks like a lot of classic Spider-Man villains like Electro,
Sandman.
Oh, okay.
So
this is also the Spider-Man source book.
Also
Spider-Man Mysterio.
We also got Dark Knights of Steel Allwinter. Hardcover, which I really liked that series.
This is a really good
series. This is the DC characters in in a fantasy setting. Think DC Game of Thrones or whatever. And written by Tom Taylor, who does a lot of good work with these.
Not written by Tom Taylor.
Right, but although he did do a backup story.
Right.
But yes, this one is the second one in the series, and goes to the icy wastelands of the north.
Yep. There's a magical plague that is basically causing all this winter. Mm-hmm. Everything is black and white except for one character who's in green.
Yep. That's kind of the story element.
And fallen hero or fallen villain Deathstroke, right, is sort of the guy trying to get this new character.
He's this cool Viking-looking mercenary of the north, but he's also the lead character, so he's kind of an anti-hero, right?
Yeah. I was skeptical of a non-Tom Taylor expansion of this, and I really wound up loving it.
Yeah, it's really good.
Definitely worth a read.
And the art is gorgeous.
And you don't have to read the other Dark Knights of Steel to read it. I think you
should.
You should, yes. Yeah. But you can read this as a standalone if just like cool
Maybe
Viking.
Maybe you're just into Deathstroke.
If you're just like DC Vikings.
Yeah, that's true.
We've got the Hello Darkness trade, which is the Boom's sort of horror anthology. They launched right at the same time that Oni launched the EC ones.
Yep.
This feels of a piece with the EC stuff. It's a bunch of different horror stories with a ton of people involved in it. There's a running story that's done by Garth Ennis and Becky Cloonan.
Yep.
That's really good. Pete Moko is in here, Tula Lotay, Trevor Hirstein, Jenny Frison. Looking at all the names, Wes Craig. There's a lot of names you would know.
It's a pretty good list.
Yep. James Tinian, of course. So a lot of good sort of horror short stories collected in this. We've got 2 Ultimate Spider-Man trades this week. One is Volume 2 of the current run, the Hickman stuff,
right?
Which
AKA,
I believe
middle-aged Spider-Man.
Basically leads, I think, all the way up through the Christmas episode.
7 through 12. Yep. And then we have the Modern Ultimate Epic Collection, Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 1, which
the thing that launched it all.
The original Bendis and Bagley.
This is the first 2 or 3.
This is the first 13 issues.
Okay. So it'd be the equivalent of what used to be the first 2 trades.
Yep.
Which it series that we have all been enthusiastic for in its time.
Yeah.
And was a really clever revision of Spider-Man.
Nice art by Mark Bagley.
Yeah. Bendis, I'll always give him this. He was one of the first people who made Spider-Man's wisecracks really funny.
Yeah.
He was always kind of snarky, but these were like a lot of them actually funny. and had some cool introductions for like Ultimate Kingpin, Ultimate Green Goblin, and stuff like that going on.
This also ends with the big famous Peter reveals his secret to Mary Jane issue.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
That was a great
which
issue.
is a really good issue.
Yeah.
So if you've never read the original Ultimate Spider-Man, you're digging the current one, this might be worth a look.
I agree.
It's been out of print for a long time. I'm glad they're finally bringing those back in print. They're going to do the same thing with Ultimate X-Men and some of the other ones.
Oh, okay.
There is the Dark Nights Metal Compendium, which contains Dark Knights Metal and all the one-shots they did. I was looking to see if Death Metal was in there as well, but no.
For people who don't know, Scott Snyder, who most famously on Batman did the Court of Owls story, but he had a run for like 5 years on that book.
Yep.
And with the artist he worked with, Greg Capullo, who they really bonded, he did this kind of this dark multiverse story in the DC universe that was like their summer event when it came out.
Yeah, and there were evil. There were 7 evil Batman that are like one is like Batman as the Joker, one is Batman as Aquaman. They're all
that one is the Joker, the Batman Who Laughs, really took off as a villain. He's a favorite villain now.
Yep.
But this is like, so it's the main miniseries and like all the little side crossovers and lead-ins and stuff. So. A nice volume to get if you want the big picture.
And then Zatanna Bring Down the House, the most recent Zatanna miniseries with art by Javier Rodriguez.
A particular fan of.
Yeah,
and
it's a really good series.
I know that we all like Javier Rodriguez.
Yeah. Fantastic artist.
And I think that finished up comics for the week.
Yep.
So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and talk about some trailers and a bunch of mediocre movies. All right, we got a couple trailers to talk about. First, we're going to talk about a little bit of scheduling news related to Andor.
Oh, right. What do we have to talk about?
So they're doing some of a weird schedule. It's going to be 12 episodes.
Oh, right.
But they're going to do it 3 a week for 4 weeks. So basically, April 22nd through May 13th, and then it's done.
We're getting
and it's done. Like he said, he's done. He's not coming back, right?
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. The character doesn't have a lot of places where they can take him.
I mean,
no, you don't.
He's
you don't.
dead.
Why? What's gonna happen?
He's dead.
Oh.
Well, we didn't see the body.
We didn't see the body.
We just saw the planet explode. It's fine.
Guys, I got 2 words for you. Zombie Andor.
But that essentially means we're getting, was it
3 hours of Andor every week?
Well, like a 3-hour movie, essentially.
Yeah. I guess that's right. That's right.
Yeah. I'm good with it.
So what I was going to say is this follows the structure in a way that they did in the first season, but the actual first 3 episodes were released all simultaneously.
Yep.
And they tended to, except for like, I think near the end, most of the arcs were 3 episodes. Now, they went to a 1 episode a week thing, but it was like part 1 of 3, part 2 of 3, part 3 of 3 was basically how it was working. So that's how it's been structured anyway. This is just kind of like...
They're just accepting that.
It.
Just like, here you go.
Yeah.
It's a weird call, though. I'm like, I guess it's they found that the younger people like the binge model and all that. But at the same time, I'm like, I understand that, and I certainly prefer the binge model as a young man myself. But like, why would you want 4 weeks of content when you could have 12 weeks of content? Like,
because they're respecting his artistic vision.
I was going to say, this has
Disney?
Yes. You know what I've heard in interviews? He said they kept trying to push what Disney would let them do, and they said they always got pretty much always got the green light.
I think Gilroy and Kathleen Kennedy came to some.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong.
Of the minds.
I believe that this is kind of like when Bill Hicks talked about how he's like people who are in like marketing who are watching his app would be like, oh, we could capitalize on that. We could do the anti-marketing, and I think that's really to truthfully is what Disney is doing. It's like, oh well, we'll talk about kind of this sort of outlaw subversive vibe, this true rebellion, this real anti-fascist movement. But, as long as people don't take it too seriously and it's not, getting us in headlines and stuff like that, it's just in the kind of nerdy community and stuff like that, it doesn't really hurt our corporate, sponsors don't care. So they are just making money.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. And I think that, like, it's weird because it is both for the binge model for the younger viewers, but I think the reason that Gilroy wants it is because he likes long form, that more novelistic approach. And when you have, like, essentially a 3-hour movie, like, that you can just squeeze a whole lot more material in there. He was talking just recently about how he was pleased enough with his own scripts for it that he wanted to publish them. But he said that they would, obviously become instant fodder for AI.
He just gave the
learning machines.
Middle finger too,
and he's like, I just don't want to give him that. He's like, and so
he spent a lot of time on those, the way he wanted to do them. So he doesn't want that kind of
right. He just
copied.
doesn't want to give it to the machine.
Yeah, I get it.
So yeah, no script book, but yeah, clearly, I'm happy with how it sounds like he's happy with the series, because that means that he didn't get a compromised vision. Nobody was like, it doesn't sound like anybody was like, well, we don't want you doing this touchy subject matter.
And that makes me feel like that the trailer they built with its sort of like focus on action is kind of like, to get people enticed for it. Yeah. It's a lure. It's going to have the same sort of moral quandaries and things that the first season did. I don't think Gilroy could get away from that if he tried.
No. And I kind of always felt that he would, but I was, I have a little bit of concern that it just won't quite measure up, and that's still possible.
We don't have to wait very long. It's what, May? Or is it
April 22nd?
Oh, April 22nd. Okay, so not very long at all.
Yep.
So it'll be geared up by the time we get to May the 4th.
Yep.
Be with you.
Yep. All right, let's talk trailers.
Okay.
All right.
So we got a really short teaser for Poker Face Season 2, which also is in April, I think.
Yep.
Dave has not watched this, I don't believe.
No, I remember you talking about the series, and because it's Ryan,
bits of it.
Ryan Johnson, I was like, oh, I think I might like this. It sounds fun. It was the what's her name?
Natasha Lyonne.
Is
playing essentially a Columbo type.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, so much a Columbo type. It is basically it is a Columbo.
It is.
You could use Columbo scripts and still the show would work.
But
she has something unique about her, right?
But she's also on the run, and it is like she lives off the grid. And so she keeps finding like odd jobs each episode.
And she usually runs into a murder of some sort.
She usually runs into a murder of some kind of like Murder, She Wrote.
Yep.
But yeah, she has the ability to tell when someone is lying.
Yep.
Unfortunately, as they're very good at doing, like, sometimes it doesn't help if you know someone's lying. Like, you can't go, oh, that guy's a bad guy, he's lying. Because she points out early on.
No evidence
like,
or whatever.
No. People lie for all kinds of stupid reasons.
Right.
So she's like, well, is that guy lying because he's a murderer? Or is he just lying because people lie?
Right.
It's really well done, and they don't point it out, like, necessarily the lie. Sometimes they don't, like, point a finger or a red light at it.
Right.
You might catch it later, like, oh, that's how she knows something's going on. She knew he was lying. But basically, it's just like a little movie every week.
Yeah, and Ryan Johnson gets to bring in phenomenal people.
Tons of good guest stars.
This one...
Camille Nanjiani, Cynthia Erivo, Aquafina.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Yep.
And Giancarlo Esposito will be in anything.
Oh, he will. He is. He's in everything.
Good. But he's a good actor.
But this is one of my favorite shows on TV.
Yeah.
Like, I would get Peacock for this alone. I'm super excited to come back.
Randy, if you were to kind of sum it up, what do you like about that makes it
the writing? The writing is fantastic. The direction is super good. It's got.
Does Ryan Johnson write?
He does.
The episodes? Okay.
I think there's probably a writer's room, but he writes a lot of it.
Yeah.
It looks and feels like nothing else on TV. It hits that sweet spot of like Rockford Files and Terriers and all that kind of stuff. These sort of like unlicensed bums that somehow root out corruption kind of stuff.
Yep.
It's very entertaining escapism.
It's often very funny, very clever.
Out of curiosity, like his Knives Out movies, does it have a perspective?
Oh, for sure.
Like are there thematics and things like that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not just empty calories.
No. It's about the corruption and the rich and powerful and a lot of that kind of stuff as well as
that's like I think the broad theme of much of Ryan Johnson's career.
There's also just sort of a notion of like what people will do if they think they can get away with it. Because there was a story in the first one about a guy who's just like kind of a loser whose dad runs a mechanic, and he is obsessed with this girl, and he winds up killing someone just because of the opportunity.
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
And then there's a story about a couple of race car drivers.
Yep.
They're the one of them is jealous of the other, and a sort of a sabotage that happens, and it's
The family that runs a barbecue
the
stand.
family runs a barbecue place. Yeah, there's a lot of like
Where does this stream, by the way?
Peacock.
Peacock. Okay.
yeah.
It's worth seeking out.
It is absolutely worth seeking out. It is one of the best shows on television. I am super excited that it coming back.
I'm glad we finally get a confirmation that it is coming.
Yeah.
Because it was kind
Well,
of
they'd
nebulous out there.
already given us a cast. Like, we knew it was coming.
Well, I knew it was coming, but we didn't know when.
Yeah.
It was very
It's been a while. I think it's like 2 years out. I think
Yep.
I was not patient. I've been waiting for this a while. We got a teaser or trailer for Your Friends and Neighbors, which is the new John Hamm show on Apple Plus. Is this based on a series of books or something?
I have no idea. The trailer actually read a little more serious than I was expecting.
It's very. It looks like kind of a
Because I was kind of expecting...
What's the name of the series?
Your Friends and Neighbors.
Okay.
I was expecting kind of like a... not Fletch-esque, but kind of a little more lighter in tone.
Yeah, this is definitely darker.
Because it's basically about a man who gets fired from his
Hedge fund
job, and then he decides to keep up his lifestyle by stealing from his neighbors.
Yes,
Like
It says-
literally, like kind of like stealing,
Ransacking their
jewels
summer homes and
It's
stuff
like
like
they
that.
won't notice all this stuff missing.
right. There is a tongue-in-cheek nature to the trailer. Like
little
there's
bit.
some lightness to it.
Yeah,
it
but
doesn't
it's-
look like it's uncut gems.
No.
You know.
So this guy has written things as varied as Banshee, the sort of Amish crime thing on Max, which I don't know if you ever saw.
I never watched it.
Really good. To the Atom Project,
Okay.
that sort of sci-fi thing with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
To C, the Jason
Jason
Momoa,
Momoa,
and
Apple TV
to
Plus
Warrior, which is their martial arts thing is supposed to be really
Oh,
good.
yeah, that's on HBO. That was good.
So he's written some good stuff. I can't get a sense of if this is an adaptation of anything.
I think the big deal for this is having John Hamm back in the leading role
Yep.
of a
Yep.
TV show.
I got to admit, I was hoping for something a little lighter, a little more. What I really want is a Fletch TV show based on his take on Fletch.
And he would do it in a drop of the heart.
Oh yeah, he loves
imagine,
it. But they didn't do well enough. But it also has Amanda Peet as his ex-wife and Olivia Munn as his current fling. Both of them are really good.
Yeah, they are.
It looks really interesting. I'm curious to see. I'm never sure Apple Plus can be hit and miss.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see how this goes.
I don't have Apple Plus, so this is not an option for me anyway. But it was an interesting premise, and yeah, that's a notable actor to have in the lead. So,
And then we got the trailer for the live-action Lilo and Stitch.
Again, with all these live-action Disney movies, does it need to exist?
I'm gonna spare you all my rant about these. They should not do these movies, but just know that I'm thinking it and watching this trailer. That's what I was thinking the whole time.
However, I have a soft spot for Lilo and Stitch.
I love Lilo and Stitch.
So I think this looks fine. And I'm glad that they got the voice for Stitch to come back and do the voice for Stitch.
I will happily watch the animated Lilo and Stitch again.
I think that's where most people are, but they also will take their kids to see it.
Yeah.
Enough do to keep these things going. So, like all the protest votes in the world, doesn't matter if they make enough.
Yep.
Exactly.
On them. It was a solid looking trailer.
The animation looked good. I thought the design work for Stitch didn't go too far.
It didn't
field.
betray him.
No, it wasn't a Sonic.
First model Sonic, yeah, with his creepy teeth. At least these were intentionally creepy looking.
Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, he definitely looks like a little fuzzy alien. An adorable fuzzy alien.
And I think I've only seen Lilo and Stitch once, I think, but this had the prerequisite. Some scenes pretty well, and some scenes that are kind of interpreted differently, or that's a new bit they're going to do, or
Looks
little
like they're
bits of
doing
it
a
here and
different
there.
take on Pleakley and Jumbo.
A little bit. Well, they have.
They have image inducer kind of
I
technology.
think they had that in the first one.
Did they?
Oh no, maybe they didn't. They just did disguises, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more techy.
because it's less CGI.
Yeah.
If you don't have to make them look like that the whole time, which again, this works. A lot of Lilo and Stitch works because it has this big animated budget.
Right.
I think they're going to lose something in translate to live action, and it's not going to be money because it's still going to cost a lot of money to make.
Probably.
I don't know. I hope that the people who enjoy it. It is definitely not aimed at
This
me.
one I feel like I'm more likely to see than others.
I saw Jungle Book and was like, "Oh, this is really good." I'm surprised, and it's been diminishing returns all the way down the line. Although the
There
new
have been some
Snow White
highlights.
is getting a lot of good notes.
Yeah.
People are saying it's really good. I won't
think-
see that one either.
My favorites of the live action ones they've done were easily The Jungle Book is on top.
Yep.
And I think, I still kind of liked Guy Ritchie's Aladdin.
I did too.
And I think most of the rest are just kind of somewhat ho-hum for me if I've seen them at all. But they have their moments, but I think I've gotten to the point where I think I'm kind of done with them.
Yep.
I guess the Snow White one, if there was enough to it, because Snow White is also, by the way, it's a kind of a weak original movie.
Yeah, it's true.
It's the story and character in it are certainly old-fashioned,
Yeah.
I guess I'd say, and Snow White feels like the weakest of the Disney princesses. So a jazzed-up version of that might be more interesting, and so maybe on that one.
Yeah.
But in general, you know what else I liked? I did like the Mulan one.
I like that one
The
too.
Wuxia Mulan.
A lot of people hated that because it's nothing like the original. But you know why?
And
That's why I liked it.
There's a few missteps in it too, but yeah,
I thought the first Maleficent was
Oh,
fun.
the lead actor.
Maleficent was alright.
This was all right, but that's its own thing. That's not that's an original.
I know, but
thing.
it gets...
It vibed like
It vibed.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, but see, I'm all for that. Like the whole thing they did with Mufasa, I don't have any really interest in seeing it. But
Yeah.
at least that's an original story.
That's true.
I would rather they tell more like stories. Like if you were going to
I'll
do a
watch that one.
follow up to Lilo and Stitch live action,
I'll watch that when it hits Disney Plus.
I wouldn't do that either because Lilo and Stitch had several good animated sequels and a full animated series that was good.
Yeah, it's a rare that the animated series was as
Are
good.
they
was
ever
really
going to do
good.
like a live action Toy Story where
God.
where you've got the people in it are real and the toys are just like as realistic looking as they can make
Oh,
them?
that's gonna be horrifying.
That's
a horror movie.
They've not
Dave.
done live action Pixar yet.
You need to
But it's coming.
Wait till you see Sid's mangled brace face.
Oh no,
Some poor kid has to undergo like 12 hours
No,
of
that'll just be
prosthetics.
CG.
that'd be horrifying.
No, they have to hurt a kid. It's only funny if they do.
All right, speaking of mediocre movies,
Yes.
All right.
Nick, you watched a bunch of mediocre movies.
He engaged on an intentional basis
I did.
with mediocrity
Because-
for Mediocrity Monday.
Because sometimes I like to just watch bad movies.
Yep.
I've always
Or
done it.
Midland. It sounds like
Or
there was a
Midland.
few winners in here.
And I knew none of these things were things my wife had any interest in at
not
all.
Winter's Day, maybe a solid bronze.
I don't know. I feel like bronze is maybe
I
the
thought
peak.
there was
But
a silver in there.
Oh,
all right,
okay.
all right.
Alright.
So that's the excitement here.
Yes,
That's
there's
where will we
silver.
get?
Okay, so I'm going to start with the worst of them, which
Okay.
is probably Kraven the Hunter.
Yep.
I was horrified to hear you watched it.
It hit Netflix. It's like number
Nick, do you have
one in
any
Netflix.
idea
in
how
top
many
10.
movies Netflix puts on all the time?
No, I know, but I
This
mean,
is a superhero movie, Rainey, and we are a superhero
this is
store
a
and all
Sony
this.
Pictures or whatever the heck it is. It's Sony, isn't it?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
Sony.
But yes,
Does it suck? It's Sony.
I mean, you're not wrong. But I mean, okay, I had went into this thinking it was going to be the worst possible movie in all the land. Like,
Even though I told y'all I watched that little opening 10-minute preview and it was pretty okay.
I know, but I didn't believe you.
Yeah. I still don't believe you.
I will
But Nick
say,
has seen it and can verify.
I will say the opening sequence that has Kraven
It's in media
killing
res
somebody,
and he kills a Russian oligarch.
Russian
Now,
oligarch,
I am interested in that.
and
Oh,
escape.
well, how quickly the tides have turned. And Randy comes crawling back to Kraven.
Look, you kill a Russian oligarch, I'm in.
Yeah, he kills a Russian oligarch and escapes from a Russian prison. And I thought that was actually really well shot. I thought the action was good.
Does he do the thing where he kind of like lets himself get caught so that he can
Yeah.
do stuff?
Yep.
By the way,
yep.
we're all going to get mysteriously pushed out of windows now.
Yeah,
probably
sure,
so.
whatever.
But it kind of backtracks from there into how he gets his abilities, and he gets
That was when he was bitten by a radioactive Kraven.
yes, bit by a radioactive Kraven.
Doesn't he get lion blood in his
AKA, he was attacked by a lion, gets lion blood, and then Calypso, a random character that sometimes is his like love interest in the comics,
Sure, yep.
is touring Africa at the same time he is, and gives him some sort of voodoo like elixir.
So, I just want to be clear here. You know how the original Flash got this, or the Wizard? Wizard gets powers from mongoose blood.
Yes,
Not irradiated.
Right.
He just gets a transfusion of mongoose blood
Yeah.
and becomes super fast.
Right.
This is kind of like that.
a little bit.
It's not a magical lion.
mixed with
It's
some
just
voodoo.
a lion
Yeah.
with some voodoo.
But then Calypso came by later
Oh.
and put a little voodoo on it.
oh,
Yeah.
little voodoo on the top.
And he gets like the ferocity and animalistic tendencies of a lion, and the action is pretty good.
Right.
The story sucks because it's basically a weird roundabout 2-hour adventure, 2 hours and 7 minutes of him being a dumbass, not realizing that his
That
father
is
is behind
too
everything.
long. That is
pretty
too long for a
Who's the
Kraven
antagonist
movie.
in it, Nick?
Well, at the whole thing, it's Russell Crowe. Except for he
right.
doesn't realize that his father is basically puppeteering everything. So he thinks the villain...
Papa Kraven?
Papa Kraven is the villain. He thinks that the villain is the Rhino, who is a character that they basically just butchered and made him a crime boss, that he went through some ability where he gets, like, if he doesn't inject himself with something...
rhino blood in him.
He basically will turn into the Rhino if he doesn't use this injection thing that he walks around with all the
Does
time.
he turn into the rhino?
He does turn into the Rhino later on.
You know what's funny? Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man cartoon had a version of the Rhino on it, or like clearly setting it up.
Yeah.
And it was a really good character,
Yeah.
even though it was very different.
Yep.
But they like kept you some stuff. In
This was bad.
So it's not that we're purists, it's that this sounds dumb.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was like a little satisfying to see
Decent
Kraven.
action?
Yeah, decent action. And
Let me ask for ladies or gay men, how's Kraven's hotness level?
Aaron Taylor Johnson's hot.
All right.
There is no doubt, and they definitely cater to that because he walks around shirtless a lot.
There we go. For some people, that might be
That's all
they
you
need
need.
to know.
It's like Sydney Sweeney's breast getting everyone to see Madam Web.
Was that a thing?
I believe it was, yes.
I mean, you kind of wonder why isn't he James Bond, because he definitely, I mean, he could do it.
Isn't he American?
No, he's
British?
He's British
Maybe he will be James
or
Bond.
Australian, one of the two. I can't
Maybe he'll
remember.
be James Bond in the Amazon series.
That's possible.
Did we ever talk about that?
But James Bond has to be like charismatic or whatever. He can't
I
just
think he
be
would totally-
muscular and British.
But he could be charismatic. He's not he's been around
I don't know.
forever.
What have I seen
Yeah.
him in?
A lot of different things.
He was Quicksilver in
Quicksilver. He
Avengers.
was in
Okay.
the first Godzilla movie.
Right.
He was is in Nosferatu.
He is in Nosferatu.
Which dude was he in Nosferatu?
He's
played-
the other guy. He's the guy with the wife.
The husband.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's good in that
his
Shipping
well-to-do,
magnate?
his
Yeah.
well-to-do bestie.
Yes.
Yes.
I just realized, did we never talk about the James Bond thing? The news?
I think we missed that one.
Oh, okay.
But
We
we can talk about it.
We should at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
All right.
you're wanting to watch an action movie and don't care about anything connecting to Spider-Man, because he didn't show up.
Right. You might as well. Then that's you should probably go in knowing to all any Sony things that exist so far.
If you want an action movie, you're gonna get some decent
What you're
action.
saying is you survived, Kraven.
I survived Kraven. I liked bits of it.
So here's what
About what I
I'll say.
felt like Morbius was.
He was bit by the Kraven bug.
If you want a movie about a man fighting animals and that kind of thing, Nicolas Cage made a movie where he was like a poacher or an anti-poacher
Oh,
poacher.
interesting.
Yes, and it's not good, but I bet it's better than this.
I will say, watching Kraven like kill Russian oligarchs, people who are hunting animals, that was all satisfying. I'm
Yeah.
like, kill those people. I don't
Oh,
care.
there is a movie called Primal. It is Nicolas Cage. He
Nicolas
catches a white jaguar and ships it on the same ship as an arrested assassin. The assassin breaks free and frees the animals.
Does Nicolas Cage know he made this movie?
I'm not sure he does, but I think if you want an action movie involving animals and an animal tamer,
I think
Yeah.
the main
This might-
person who knows that he made that is his CPA, trying to get him out of that
That's
debt.
true. That's true.
And then in the same vein, which just a little bit better, is Venom Last Dance. It's leaps and bounds better than Venom Let There Be Carnage.
Yeah, that
Because
was that hurt me physically.
it did. It was a little bit of a...
There was so much
Slap in the
promise in
face.
Woody Harrelson as the fright-wigged fiend.
He was so good in that 30-second spot towards the very end of the first movie.
What is this character's name? Clayton.
Cletus
Not Clayton
Cassidy.
Crane.
Cletus
That's an artist.
Clayton Crane's the artist.
That's a real person.
But hey, Clayton Crane could be Carnage. We don't know.
Cletus Cassidy. Yes. He was so good in that like 2 minute
I know.
thing.
A good campy serial killer villain, and then they somehow just blew it.
Yeah, completely. This one is the conclusion to the Venom trilogy as we know it.
Yep.
It opens.
Who's the bad guy?
It's
Venom's the
basically
bad guy.
Null.
Okay.
They've incorporated Null and the God of Symbiotes.
That is crazy.
It's crazy. He is on screen multiple times, imprisoned on his the planet of Clintar, I think is what.
Yeah, that's correct. I know that from Marvel Snap.
Yeah. And they show that he basically, there is some... Because Eddie has died and Venom, the symbiote, brought him back, there's a weird kind of thing in his DNA that Null needs to unlock his prison. It's a stupid...
Sure.
Whatever.
Whatever. I've watched Bond movies
Yep,
before.
yep.
They'll just say whatever
Yep.
they need to get that plot rolling.
Yep.
So basically, it's... Null sends out emissaries that are kind of like hunters that are weird alien, like, bug from Starship Trooper things.
Oh, they're not symbiotes.
They're not symbiotes, because the symbiotes are against Null. They have, like, imprisoned him.
Weird.
But, so all the symbiotes are actually good, which is a complete 180 of what they have been in Marvel.
Okay.
So,
well, you know, why not? They're already making this their own weird thing.
Exactly. You do get some bizarre Tom Hardy and his weird Venom voice,
Right.
Which is entertaining. There's a horse that gets to be venomized for a little while, which is an amusing joke.
Yep.
Some okay action.
I think the key thing that was like the surprise quality of the first movie was bromance, the Eddie symbiote bromance.
Yeah.
Yep.
How's the bromance level?
Romance is good.
How's the humor level?
Not as good as the first one, but better than the second one.
And lastly, how's the action level?
Mediocre.
Okay.
I thought the CGI was definitely on the weaker side of things.
Not super selling me on it.
No, like I said, this is just a hair above Kraven. I think in the action thing, Kraven.
But you said it was definitely better than the second one, and this second one, I don't know. It must have had a few good scenes in it. I think.
I don't know if I can name one.
Probably not. There was something where he was outside, and there was like a train or a building that he was on.
I don't
and
remember. I really don't. I own that movie, and I will never watch it again.
Yep.
No, Nick. It's time to marathon all three.
Oh God, no! That does not sound good. That sounds like a bad party.
Yeah. All right, so you survived Kraven.
I survived Kraven.
You survived Venom.
I survived Venom.
And
then I watched, because it hit Netflix this week, I had to watch The Electric State, even though I've heard god-awful things.
Right.
And again, I feel like the god-awfulness was a little hyped a bit. I don't think this was as bad as everyone was making it out to be.
So, slightly better than terrible.
I think it's better than terrible. It's better than average.
Better than terrible?
Yes, better than terrible.
So let's see, this is based on a book or something. Who's in it?
This is Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
And also a ton of people playing robots.
Yeah, and a ton of people. Basically, it's in the 90s where there is a weird robot uprising. And against humans, I shit you not, the Planners Peanut plays a person who is in the uprising and leads them. It is bizarre.
So wait. You said it's a robot uprising. You mean that a robot of the Planters Peanut, or what?
Yeah, basically they have built it, and their AI has become sentient, and they do like a robot uprising. Humans and robots fight, and then
did
robots
the book have that,
lose.
or did the movie start using licensed characters?
I would imagine the movie
that's
used
the hook.
I think did it, yeah.
The movie went the way of Ready Player One in a lot of facets.
I mean, Ready Player One, I haven't read that book. Well, I read a little bit of it, but like, it did name drop everything that ever existed in the 80s.
So
it was trying for that.
But I mean, this is like a who's who of people. Mr. Peanut is voiced by Woody Harrelson.
Okay. Like, it's got Mr. Peanut in it. Okay.
Anthony Mackie does a voice. Alan Tudyk, Stanley Tucci, and Giancarlo Esposito are the villains. Because
Stanley Tucci and
Giancarlo Esposito,
as described.
Yeah, he plays like
you got a movie, he'll be in it.
He plays like a military.
Filming something in your garage, he's there.
Brian Cox plays a weird like baseball robot.
Okay.
You know, it's Jason Alexander plays a weird guy.
I remember seeing the trailer, and I thought that the trailer had some vibe like it was like a post-apocalypse or something.
It is. I mean, basically there was a robot uprising. So this is not like a robot uprising
where you're going about your daily job, and they're like, oh no, there's a robot down the street that's loose. It's more like the robots have really effed things up.
Yeah, and they've been like enclosed in part. They've basically built a wall to keep the robots in as part of the United States.
And somebody's like, I accidentally walked into Robot Town.
But then Millie Bobby Brown's brother, he comes back in the form of a robot to kind of get her to help him, and begins this journey into the robot land.
So this is interesting. The book is a 2018 dystopian sci-fi illustrated novel by Swedish artist Simon Stalenhag.
Yeah.
Okay. Says it's set in an alternate, technologically ravaged 1990s, follows a teenage girl and her robot on a journey to the west coast of the United States in search of her long-lost brother. How much of that sounds like the movie?
That's accurate.
So, okay, all right, okay.
And then it gets basically Hollywoodized.
Are there flashbacks that reveal her past and the reason for her separation?
Kind of, sort of, but not.
And a secondary plot that follows a federal agent tracking down her brother?
No.
Okay.
You know what? Like... I expect the movie to make some changes.
Yep.
That's okay. Just the other day I was talking with somebody about how Misery, which I believe is the best Stephen King adaptation. There's some others you could make a case for, but for me that's the best. When I finally read the book, which was after seeing the movie, I was like, oh, half that book is like the internal monologue of the James Caan character. All his thoughts about writing and his situation, you're totally in his head the whole time.
Yeah.
And it's also clearly kind of one of those analogs for Stephen King. But that's just dropped. You do get his thoughts through his dialogue with her, but a huge chunk of the book is lost. And I still thought it was the best adaptation.
Yeah.
So I don't mind changes.
Yep.
But I don't know how I feel about Mr. Peanut.
I think because this was beloved by people, I don't know. I never read it.
People are just mad about it.
People are just mad that it
yeah.
is not like a faithful adaptation.
I get that. I mean,
I do too, but
Nick, is it at the point you would recommend it?
if you're bored,
You feel like
for
you're on the cusp of it.
If you're bored for an hour or two, it's like an hour and 45 minutes.
I'm going to throw out this question to you as well. Better or worse than Ready Player One? Which I
actually believe it's worse.
Okay.
It's definitely Ready Player One is the better movie.
It's the...
But because you got Spielberg, at least can build a scene.
It's the...
the Russo...
three
I will say...
Ready Player One type movie.
I will say this, though. This is the Russo brothers.
Which is to say better than it could have...
It's also written by Marcus and McFeely.
yes.
These
are the people that made Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War. And that is why I haven't watched it, but that's why I probably won't watch it, because I'm like, I don't understand how these people can make the best superhero movies that have ever been made.
I honestly think this movie might kill Randy.
Ambitious, and they live up to that ambition. Like, and then they make the most forgettable action movie, The Gray Man, and now they made a forgettable sci-fi movie based on apparently a really good graphic novel. What is going on? And I'm worried about what this means for Avengers: Secret War and Doomsday.
They may have had just a one-off.
That's what I'm afraid of. Like, what? How?
Actually, like a three-off.
Or, like, have they screwed up at Marvel?
No,
not yet.
Okay, so then maybe Marvel is what
other
they
than,
need.
Other than they wrote Thor: The Dark World, which was pretty awful.
But yeah, I was going to say, like, maybe that's like what they
secret is
need
Marvel.
is like playing around in an existing setting. Maybe they're particularly good at bringing out stuff that exists in a already built world.
Maybe the balance of cocaine to writing was off. Too much cocaine, not enough cocaine. I don't know.
I don't know, but they've got to find balance.
We need to talk to their agents.
Sure, those are the guys who provide cocaine, right?
Yes, and see if they can get the mix right.
But also, one of the Russo brothers recently was just saying something stupid about the Oscars. Clearly, something about, like...
I mean, the Oscars are kind of dumb.
Well, yes, they are, and I hate
was he
the
like,
Oscars.
they're woke?
But no, thankfully it was not that. He was saying that Harvey Weinstein poisoned the Oscars against big-budget movies that used to win Oscars, and that... that it was all his fault, and that he was so that he wanted only art films to watch. Basically, he was doing the only unwatchable art movies get Oscars anymore.
Not great movies like The Gray Man,
like Avengers Endgame, I think probably.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I don't entirely disagree with it, but you should probably shut the hell up.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's okay to make popcorn films. It's like highly entertaining
Here's the thing.
films.
I will argue that Avengers Endgame is a higher achievement than a lot of films reach. Like, that is a huge achievement that I think should have been rewarded if the Oscars were about...
They don't get rewarded with an MTV Movie Award.
I think it probably did.
It probably did. If there were such things, I don't know anymore. Anyway, yes, Nick, the failure or success of Electric State matters not a bit to me. What it means for the MCU is what scares
But
me.
I remember we liked the trailer. So the trailer, I was like,
your description of it doesn't sound awful. I would potentially consider watching this because isn't this, you say it's on Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
That's a thing that I can put in front of me.
It's easy to press play.
Dave, instead, consider spending $10 on Peacock and watching the best TV show there is.
No.
And then I want to quickly talk about the two movies that I actually thought were good.
Okay.
One, I know...
Spend the least amount of time on the good ones.
Randy has seen. So I watched Flow, which did win an Oscar.
Flow won an Oscar.
This is an animated film about a group of animals surviving the Earth flooding.
Yep.
Kind of a dystopian or apocalyptic.
Is it the whole Earth? I thought it might have just been like a localized flood.
Or maybe it was local. I couldn't tell.
I've read descriptions and they say there's a sense of a post-apocalyptic.
Okay, that's what I thought it was, but it's all take place in sort of this Asian country, and I feel like it might be.
Well, it's almost like apocalypse happened because there's no humans.
But it's like an animal apocalypse or something. Yeah, right. There's no humans.
But there are
But there's like
homes
dwellings.
and dwellings and like
Yeah.
like things
You
that
have
would,
to ask yourself, why are there not people here? And that does suggest something happened.
Probably
Yeah.
the sentient cars killed them all.
and
I bet it was Mr. Peanut.
you get a group of animals that are sort of band together just by happenstance. I mean, the cat is our central character. I actually thought the animation is not spectacular.
It's very interesting, though. It's a really cool...
It's like hand-drawn, kind of.
Well, it looks like it looked to me when I watched like the opening 10 minutes, and it looked like it was one of those CG with like cell shading and other
Yeah.
experimental stuff the same way that, I mean, not the same way, but similar to anything from Arcane to the Spider-Verse movies and
Yeah.
things like that. It had its own look. It wasn't as amazing as like Spider-Verse.
No,
but
not
it
at
also
all.
was kind of meant to look a little more naturalistic. Like I noticed that the cat, who is that the lead character?
Yeah.
Yes, the cat is the lead.
His movements were like very cat-like.
Yeah, it
And,
was
like
100% a cat.
it was pretty impressive to capture that. To the point where I was like, this is distressing to me because what I'm seeing is this poor cat be terrorized. He's chased by dogs. He runs from a flood in this forest, and
He just wants to like. He just wants,
it's not as if it
he's
wasn't
like laying in
without,
the bed of his
it's-
past owner.
It
I mean,
starts. It starts out a lot more harrowing than it becomes. I think eventually it is like he is on a boat with his capybara buddy and a dog, and it's like all the
well, they're
different.
not buddies at all. They don't.
buddies.
There's animosity towards each other
But they
at the
work
beginning.
together,
They
Nick.
do work together.
now I feel I need to see this so I can be the arbiter of capybara friendship.
There's a capybara. There's a lemur. There's the cat.
Lemur, right.
There's a lab dog.
That's weird because like it seemed quasi-realistic early on, and what you're describing doesn't feel realistic.
It's not. It's not. I would say as it goes on, it becomes less realistic. The idea of like animals
there's
working together, it kind of works in the context, but it's not.
Because he's like running from some dogs early
Yeah,
on, and
yeah.
they just seem like dogs.
Yeah.
Just, dogs.
No, there's definitely a little
like-
more personality to the characters.
Yeah, I mean the dog like tries to befriend. I mean it's a lab. It's a dumb lab. I mean the lab's like everybody. And then there's the giant whatever kind of bird it is.
The egret.
The egret, and the egret is mean. But
Okay,
the cat,
I have to ask, how did you know it was an egret?
I saw the Wikipedia page.
there,
I was like, were you watching and you're like, that's definitely an egret?
Yeah, you know me. I can spot birds.
Or, again, I was like under the impression these characters didn't talk, so nobody's like, Mr. Egret,
yes, the characters
no,
don't.
when
The
are we going to
characters do
get out
not
of
talk.
this
So-
dystopian hellscape?
so that is a thing. This entire movie is wordless.
Yeah,
Well, it's a foreign film.
Yeah.
Like
It is, but I mean,
you wouldn't understand some French cat.
and I will say, I was watching on my couch, and my cat was sitting next to me. One of my cats watched for at least 10, 15 minutes while the opening.
Okay.
With
oh,
the
is this
cat.
like Scrooge where they were programming for mice?
I have no idea, but I have not seen since I watched Watership Down my cat so engaged in a watching a movie.
Not enough people are making movies for cats. Maybe this does deserve the Oscar.
Well, I know that like they make those stupid like things you can put on your TV that
To
have
get
like
the
birds.
Meowster.
That like birds going in and out of the frame, and like
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
kind of like to entertain your cat.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if they jump at it and like that doesn't work for my cat.
Knock over your 4K TV and destroy it.
But the cat making its meows and
Pretty
stuff,
fun.
it definitely attracted my cat to like watch, which is rare because I watch a lot of TV. And
Cat's like, I will destroy this thing. Nick, they're like, Nick, leave the room for 2 minutes.
I don't think you found it as much as I did. I did think there was an emotional core to it. I think there were some pretty harrowing moments and there were some sad moments.
I liked it.
I like cats. Randy hates cats. We know him.
I liked it just fine. I thought Wild Robot was 100 times better.
And it's definitely more
Mainstream.
mainstream Americanized.
Well, as we know, I am a dullard.
Really like a story where it make you go sad, and then it make you go haha.
Why no robot talk? That's all I'm saying. Why no robot talk?
And then
I'm
finally,
gonna try and watch that movie at some point.
You should. Wild Robot is really good.
it is
What's that on?
Peacock.
Yeah, it's also on Peacock.
Okay.
Dave, trying to get Peacock.
You can get it for a full year for like $20.
Yeah, but they have commercials in it that way. It's better to pay $10 to get it for a month and watch all the stuff.
I guess that's true. And then finally, I will talk about the Brad Pitt, George Clooney movie Wolves.
Wolves. Not wolves.
Not wolves.
Wolves.
Wolves. I wasn't quite sure what to expect for this. I think I heard some middling stuff about it.
Yep.
It's an Apple TV movie. It's directed by John Watts, so the guy who did the Spider-Man movies.
Yep, okay.
And Cop Car. About basically two fixers. That's what they are. They fix situations that are bad.
They're all Winston Wolfes.
They're all Winston Wolfe from Pulp Fiction, yes. Yep. But basically, an instance happens in a hotel room with a senator. She calls a fixer, George Clooney. He shows up, and then a few minutes later, Brad Pitt comes in as another fixer who somebody else is called, and it leads into this situation dealing with a dead body that may or may not be as dead as they think it is.
Yeah.
This
is a Stealth Weekend at Bernie's sequel. Thank God it's finally here.
If it had been, it would have been like a 4 or 5 star movie because I love Weekend at Bernie's. But
thus wiping out everything Nick has said today.
You guys knew I have like crap taste in movies. For it's fine. I watch crap, and that's okay. It brings me joy. But I watch this because I like George Clooney and Brad Pitt together. Yeah. They always have good chemistry.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this is. Them playing two cool customers. They don't quite have the bromance they do in Oceans.
Sure.
But that's not their characters. They're supposed to be the best that there is. And they're like, well, they're always like, trying to one-up them each other a little bit. Like,
right.
Oh, I don't want to go to my safe house. We should go to your safe house.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, and that's what it was. It's fun. It's like...
essentially frenemy rival fixers.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. And ultimately dealing with a kid who was supposed to do a drug drop that things went awry.
Uh-huh.
And then dealing with him and kind of forming a bond.
Yep.
It was entertaining. I think it was a fun way to spend 2 hours, and it was good.
This was your silver medal?
I think that and Flow were definitely silver medals.
Okay, all right.
They were much better than the Venom and Kraven.
And
these two, I would actually say, watch these movies. You will be entertained by them in some form or fashion.
I would also say Flow was worth watching, but watch Wild Robot first.
We've created a scale of quality here.
Yep.
In which stealth appearance by Wild Robot is at the top.
Yes.
Apparently.
And Poker Face.
And Poker Face.
And Ballistic X vs. Ever is always at the
bottom. Yeah, that's a good point. All right, well, that will wrap it up for us this week. I hope you all enjoyed our 500th episode. Yep. And Dave, why don't you close us out with a big singing and dancing number we were practicing?
Yo, Joe.
Roguecast is a weekly podcast broadcast from Rogues Gallery Comics and Games in Round Rock, Texas. You can find us online on Facebook and at www.roguesgallerytx.com and email us comments or questions at roguesgallerytx@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.